Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Diana Rucli. I'm the director of IFOTES, and I welcome you to this webinar that introduces the theme of the next IFOTES Congress that will be held in Budapest next year in July. We have now 1 hour and 20 minutes, more or less, of presentation, and the chair of the session will be Barbara Jenko from TES Austria, from the Helpline Telefonseelsorge in Austria, and she's also one of the members of the scientific committee of the Congress. And we will see at the end to say something more about registration of the Congress. So please, Barbara, the floor for you.
Thank you, Diana. I would also like to warmly welcome you to the pre-congress. I will be here and guide you through this congress. I'm very happy that you spent the time now with us. As Diana said, my name is Barbara. I'm a post leader in Austria. I'm part of the international committee and also the scientific committee. So we've been working a lot to provide you a very good program when you come to Budapest next July. And today it is about giving you a first impression of what the Congress will be about. As you all know, artificial intelligence and its impact is growing, not only in our everyday life, but also in the work field of telephone emergency services. And also our work is very strongly guided by our human values, such as courage, creativity, empathy, humor, reconnection, solidarity, and go on, go on, go on. These are very, very important for our work, but now we are somehow in a conflict, or there are questions arising about the value and the impact of AI on our work, but also on our human connections. And you know, the field of AI is changing very, very quickly, so it's kind of hard to be up to date, but we think the main question will be how we can integrate it, what ethical aspects go along with it, and how we can empower our human values in the future and today. So today I'm very, very happy that we've got two experts who will give you a speech about this very interesting topic. I would like to welcome them and give you a first impression who is here. So the first speech will be by, I'm sorry if I pronounce it wrong, Melinda, but it will be Melinda Medgyaszai. She's from Hungary. She's a physician, and now she's also working as a private cognitive behavioral psychotherapist in Hungary. Welcome, Melinda. Melinda worked on different levels of public health services and authorities. She also worked for a short period as a Secretary of State for Health Politics. But she also has a very strong connection to Helplines, so to our work as a listener, and now she's a consultant for one of the Hungarian helplines. Her speech will be about what about us, humanity in the age of artificial intelligence. And then we've got a second speech that will be held by Tim Vanhove. Tim is a sociologist. He has more than 20 years experience in research and development at the social work department of Arte Velde University in Ghent, Belgium. I hope I pronounced it right. Thank you. He's quite an expertise in practice-based participatory research and also the real-world piloting of digital technologies in the domains of well-being and care. So he's also very strongly connected to us. And his focus in the last couple of years was on the potential role and impact of conversational AI in mental health and social work. So he will also give us some insight in his projects. And his speech will be about AI chatbots and helplines. Is it an opportunity or a threat? So welcome to you, Tim, too. And yeah, I think that's enough from my side. We will now hear two experts. I just want to let you know, if you've got any questions, please write them down in the chat as you're doing now. I will check it together with Diana and we will discuss it after the speeches because it's a webinar mode. So please just write them down and we will discuss it. And I think we can now get it started. So I will give the word to Melinda.
Okay. So first of all, let me welcome you. And not just here today, but also let me thank you being not just here, but there in the helplines, in the national and international organizations, and helping people, your fellow human beings. You have to know that working on a mental health field myself, I know that you really make a difference. So thank you again. In my short presentation today, I would just like to highlight some of the aspects I'm interested in the AI. And please give me some slack because I'm just a psychotherapist, which means I'm not an expert in AI, in artificial intelligence, and I will simplify it and call it a robot. So I will speak about some of the aspects of the robots, technical development, artificial intelligence, learning and modeling, some of the unwanted consequences. And in the second part of my presentation, I would like to turn to my specialty and speak about the human brain and how the human brain can work together with the robots. I heavily rely on the results, preliminary results of young Hungarian scientists in my presentation. Just, let's say, stick to the tradition of the Hungarians and make your, let's say, a general review of these aspects. So first of all, even in the beginning, the developers wanted to imitate the human behavior by the robots. And that's how Mr. Alan Turing in 1950s invented this test, the Turing test, which can decide whether it's a robot or a human being. At first, the robots had disastrous results in this. They got caught all the time. But after a time, they improved more and more. The inventors even used some tricks to make the human interrogators believe that they are really human beings. One of them, for example, pretended to be a psychiatric patient with schizophrenia. The other one was even, let's say, even worse because it relied on the human interrogators' prejudices, pretending to be a blue-collar worker from the east part of Europe. And the human judges believed that they are really human beings. But let's face it, this is not safe for us, not to know whom we talk to. So a young Hungarian started to build an experiment to use reverse Turing test, to have a robot to decide whether it's a human being or not. We thought that it will be great, but it wasn't. It was a disaster again. The humans was the same level, on the same level than the robots. Even the robots couldn't decide if it's a human being or not, which means we need more and more research on this field. The other thing, it's, let's say, favorable for us who work on the field of mental health, because let's face it, if you want to research something, you need resources. If you need resources, you will need money for this. Remember, the mRNA vaccines were more or less almost ready to come to the market in 1980s, but the pandemic made the big pharma to invest to the clinical trials, the expensive clinical trials, and that's how we got the vaccines. And now inventors want to invest, for profit of course, into AI, which means they invent to understand the working of the human brain, which is great for us because now we have some projects working directly on the human brain. Let's see, For example, an international experiment using animals and see how the brain communicates, how the human neurons communicate with each other, in which cases and how we can prove it. If you see something very simple, your brains can work, your neurons can work autonomously. There's no need for cooperation. They will understand. But if this thing you see reminds you of something, then on the secondary level, the neuron starts to communicate with each other. For example, we see human faces everywhere. That's why we can be tricked to see human faces, because we remember. Or if you have someone who uses lavender, an old lady in your family, if you smell lavender, you will remember her and maybe even get emotional. So it's very interesting in the research. The other thing, how you can use as a helpline or a psychiatrist or a psychotherapist, the robots. A young Hungarian actress made a live performance with the robot fitted to be a psychotherapist. And I have to say to you, I'm not afraid this kind of robots because it was a disaster, this talk. No empathy, no expectation, and direct wording to the patients, which could be a disaster if it was a real life experience. So I think you do not have to worry to be replaced by robots. But let's see the human brain. Human brain is very flexible. It enables us to adapt, to survive, even flourish. But on the other hand, we can be manipulated, even by the robots, not just by our fellow human beings. We are wired to be social animals, so we want to connect with someone. That's why people started to chat with chatbots, which is not a really good thing because we hear a lot of flattery, a lot of sympathizing with the patient, but this won't help them. What about basic human values? I chose Shalom-Schwartz theory because if you just check it out, check this diagram out, you will see that we have values on the opposite side of the scale. For example, we have conservation, tradition, it's very important for us, but on the other hand, we have the openness to change, we have resilience, and we are so complex that we can involve all these basic values. But let's go back to Shakespeare, how Shakespeare saw us. You see, Prince Hamlet says it in the second scene. What piece of work is a man? How noble in reason, how infinite in faculties, in form and moving, how express and admirable in action, how like an angel in apprehension, how like a god. This is a praise. And sometimes robots can be praised too. They are helping, they're practical, they help us in research, in everyday life, in anywhere. So there is a good side of that. But nearly 20 years from that, we have another text of Shakespeare. Same scene, same Prince Hamlet, very different meaning with the same letters and the same words. What a piece of work is a man. How noble is reason, how infinite in faculty, in form and mourning, how express and admirable, in action, how like an angel, in apprehension, how like God. This is not a praise. This is the dark side of ours. Probably some of us visited the last IFOTES Conference, and there was an excellent presentation, you can check it on the IFOTES website, of Professor Daniela Lucangeli. How the young human brain reacts to the too much use of the internet, smartphones, and how it becomes an addiction, and how you can use the internet, the artificial intelligence, the robots, for very nefarious reasons. They are just like us, have a dark side. Let me concentrate now in the end, one of the basics in our work, let's say, in the work of the urgent services. empathy. Because empathy is critical, I think, in interpersonal relations. It enables us really to experience each other's needs and desires, and something like an emotional bridge between us. And I have to tell you that by research, it use almost all the human brain. All the circulative system work together, cooperate together to be empathic. This is a very complex feature with the different parts of the brain. And it enables us to perceive emotions with the others, not just emotionally, but even cognitively. So it's very important for us. And let me emphasize this with this little side that there is a very huge difference between sympathy and empathy in psychology. In some of the languages, and even in, let's say, by common sense, we use them as synonyms, just like they mean the same thing. But if you go to the research, especially if you look at the works of Dr. Brené Brown from Texas, and here's a quote for her: empathy fuels connection, and sympathy drives disconnections. And empathy is a choice, and it's a vulnerable one. It's very different, because empathy means that you take the perspective of the other human being, that you put yourself in someone else's shoes, and sometimes it is painful. And you stay out of judgment. And let's face it, this is not very easy for us human beings. That makes you a very good listener if you empathize. But to empathize, you recognize the same painful feeling the caller has inside you, and you will remember, and that's how you can connect with her or him. So it's very important for us. And let's say it's very important nowadays to have you on the side of the patients and the people in general, because tolerance and trying to understand each other, as Jacques said, recently was a luxury, but today become a necessity. So thank you for your attention, and I really hope that next summer you can make the same photo one of my friends snapped for me from my request to take it on the last slide of my presentation. Here we go. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, Melinda, for all the insights you gave us, especially on the human touch, and also to show us the picture of Budapest. It's a very nice city, yeah. And thank you for the overview. You will see Melinda in Hungary. She's also part of the scientific committee, so she will be here then, I think, the entire Congress. So if you have any questions concerning this presentation now, I would like to ask you to put it in the chat. I will have an eye on it. And if any other further questions arise, maybe Melinda, you will answer them in July. Yeah, thank you very much. So now I pass the word from Hungary to Belgium. Tim, we're very excited to hear about your insights. So I will pass the word and the screen to you.
Thank you very much. It feels a little bit like the Eurovision Song Festival right now, where I have to say the Belgian votes, but there was no singing from Melinda. So it's good to have no points then. Let me share my screen. There it is. Now it's blocking my view. Okay, here I am. So good afternoon, everybody. Welcome also from me. I'm Tim. I'm from Belgium, and we are doing research projects on the place of AI in well-being in mental health care. And I want to show you some results and maybe get you interested in discussing it a little bit more. The next slide won't go. There it goes. Yes. In my presentation, I want to take you on a trip with 3 parts. First, I want to talk about what is AI actually, and specifically what is conversational AI, like chatbots, because it's good to know what we really are talking about when you are talking about AI. The second part will be about my experience with the fact that these chatbots are not a theory for us to discuss. They are already out there, so I will show some examples. And then the main question, I should think, not only for today but also for in July in Budapest, is how do you react to this? And I have some steps that we could take in testing the boundaries of those AI chatbots. So that's my plan. Let's see if we get there. If you have any questions, just throw them in the chat. I'm happy to answer them afterwards. And if there are a lot of discussions, we can do the discussion a bit bigger and better in real life in Budapest. So, starting points. What is conversational AI? It's an introduction, and it goes back a rather long time. It might surprise you that the term artificial intelligence and the fact that people are interested in that kind of things already started a long time ago. And actually, for us, it's very interesting to see that one of the first things that were called artificial intelligence was a chatbot, was a psychotherapist based on the theory of Rogers. And it actually worked, and you can still use it if you want to. If you have your cell phone with you, you can just follow the QR code on your page, or if you want to use a link, you can do that as well, but it's rather hard to type in. And it's a chatbot that has been trained mechanically. That's like a programmer has written lines and lines and lines and lines of possible questions that could be asked and possible reactions that the robot should give. So the fact that it's built like this, it's not really intelligent, we should say right now. But in the 1960s, people called this intelligent because it was very new, of course. This they called the first summer of AI. And a lot of things happened afterwards, and it has become better. But after a while, it always dies down a little bit again. Then the optimism is less big, and now they say we are in the third summer of AI. It might be cold in your country. I don't feel it to be summer, but for AI, it's the biggest summer there has been. A lot of money is in it. A lot of new things are being invented. And the question you could ask here, will it become winter after this? I don't think so, actually. So maybe summer is here to stay. But what has happened in the third summer of AI? It has a lot to do with cats. Cats drive innovation in a way we can't imagine. And one of the ways that it started was by asking a computer to find a way to distinguish between a cat or a dog, a cat or a croissant. So the French pastry that kind of looks like a cat in a way, an orange cat. How could you ask a computer to know what the differences are? So what did Google do a few years ago? They had an experiment where they didn't say what a cat was. Nobody wrote a program line saying a cat looks like this and has nostrils and pointy ears and the colors. No, they just gave it millions of YouTube movies on a lot of topics, and most of them were on cats because people do like cats also on YouTube. And it learned on itself what a cat was. So the concept of cat was found by a computer that started learning without any information provided by people. And that's one of the things that's changed the world, because at that point, it became clear that learning a computer becomes better when you let it be and not try to learn it yourself by writing lines and lines and lines and lines of rules of program instructions. So it found out that there are patterns what looks like a cat, and there are patterns what look like a dog or a croissant, and that worked better than when you give it instructions. But in order to know that it was true, they needed some reinforcement learning where people said it was good or bad. So that's why all of us have to click for years and years on the buttons, like on the left bottom corner. Is it a bus or not? Is it a tree? Is it a bicycle? Is it a traffic light? It needed a lot of data, which we provided to know that if it was correct or not. So this was us helping the AI systems, and we didn't know it. So that was maybe not the best way to do that, but we all helped in a way. So what happened in the third summer, it was very, very influential, that the fact that we have internet. We needed internet to make sure that we have enough food to feed the animal of AI. It needs to have a lot of data to be training on it and to know what patterns it can find. So the internet was absolutely a necessity, and that did not exist in the 60s or 70s, of course. So that's why the third summer is now. It also needs a lot of fast computers, which we have now. And the fact that somebody thought about how can you train a computer? Well, let's try it by repetition was the biggest invention there. Because they had inspiration, and the inspiration was, like Melinda said, our brains. They call it a neural networks because it's inspired on the human brain, where our neural pathways learn by themselves because they are used. Patterns arise, connections are made between neurons, and that way of learning, the way that people learn, is the way that a neural network learns for AI. So that was the biggest new invention. And it's very interesting as well to see that learning is easier for a computer without our help. So that's something that we have to think about as well. And how does it work? Well, actually, it's very easy to say. Maybe it's harder to understand really deeply, but it just learns by repetition. It does it one time and it sees is it correct or not. Another time, another time, another time, another time. And every time it changes the statistical information a little bit in the network. It's like a huge regression analysis for the people here who studied statistics maybe a long time ago. It's actually a very, very big regression model where the numbers, the regression coefficients, by each repetition change a little bit. It tweaks itself a little bit with millions of variables in a way that afterwards, when you have done it thousands of times, millions of times, the total model actually is very good in recognizing patterns, and that way predicting a next word or a next pixel if it's a picture, if it is a picture, and that works so good that we think that it's very quality, it's trustworthy because we think it's very good. That computer program does not know it's good. It just is used to spitting out numbers based on a regression model. The big thing about this, and this is one of my major points that we can discuss, this is a black box. The term black box means it's a box. We know it's a box. We can't look inside of it because it's black. We can't explain how those patterns work, but we do know that they work. It's a little bit the same way if you are walking down the street and you see somebody else walking towards you, maybe a few 100 meters, and your brain is thinking, I might be recognizing that person. But actually you can't yet, it's too far. But your brain already has decided that the proportion of the distance between your eyes and your mouth, maybe, or your shoulders or your legs, that might be convincing that it's your brother. Your brains are so fast in thinking it could be, and actually when you come closer and closer and closer, then you see, oh, it is my brother. That way you can't explain why you think you see your brother already, but you do. This black box idea is the same with an AI system. It works, it can recognize your brother, but it can't explain why. It doesn't say, it's because he wears a red hat. No, it's thousands and thousands of variables at the same time becoming a pattern that in a certain context works as a very good prediction. So if you want transparency in AI, it's almost impossible because it's a black box. We can't explain how it works. That's a big problem.
Tim, can I interrupt you just 1
Sure.
second? Because I think that you have set your computer with Dutch, with the Dutch language. Can you, and unfortunately, people cannot follow the translation, the subtitles translated. So
Okay.
if you go on the bottom and you check, put English as your language.
Yes.
Okay.
I didn't think it would have any consequence on everybody, but
Yeah, it has so far. So perhaps you recap very quickly.
oh dear.
At least the main things, because many couldn't follow.
Oh, that's a
Okay.
pity. I have changed
Okay.
it now. Is it working now?
Should work. I think that let's see if somebody say that it works.
Working.
It's working.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, it's working.
So a quick recap. That's kind of hard, but okay. Let's think. In the fact that artificial intelligence works as good as it does right now has mainly to do with the fact that we have fast computers and the internet, which it ate and understood all of the language all of a sudden, and the fact that we come to an insight that if we treat a computer like our brains, like a neural network, it can learn by repetition. So if you do the same thing over and over and over and over again, thousands of times, if you give a picture of cats, for example, it will learn how to recognize a cat. The fact that it can do that is interesting, very interesting. But what is even more interesting is that we cannot explain how it can recognize a cat, because it's actually a combination of thousands and thousands of variables in a statistical model that can recognize patterns without actually explaining those patterns. So the comparison is, if you recognize somebody on the street, you can recognize that person without actually knowing how you recognize that person. It can be because of the clothes, can be because of the shoulder, can be proportions between body parts. We don't know, we just recognize them. The same thing is applicable to an AI system. It can use patterns to recognize language and can predict the next word quite easily, but how it can predict it that good, we can't explain. So this is the black box, and is one of the major things as a conclusion on what is AI. Let me go to the next slide. If you want to talk about AI for chatbots, you're actually talking about large language models. So the computer ate the whole of the internet, all of the texts ever written, every book that has ever written, every website, every news website it has read. So that's hundreds of billions of words. So it's a lot. And that's why it's so good at all of the languages. And for such a model, it doesn't really make a difference if it's English or Dutch. All the patterns are combined. So if you say it in Dutch or in English, it knows they are connected, the words. So this means that actually what we think is very good as a chatbot in talking in words, it's not words at all. It's statistics, it's numbers. So everything that you type in a chatbot is transferred to numbers, and those numbers as combinations are compared with the whole cloud it has of patterns based on the whole of internet, and then it understands that that word, that combination of letters, is mostly used in combination with other words and other letters. And because it's so good, because it has written absolutely everything, it can predict what the next word will be mostly. But in order to make sure that not everything is always the same reaction, if you type the same question, it does not give the same answer. It changes a little bit, or sometimes a lot. There's also a little bit of randomization. So it's not only the top one prediction that is used, but the top 5. So there's a random fact in this. All of this to say that if you think that you're talking with a chatbot, you're talking about content, about words with meaning. Actually, for a chatbot, it's numbers that are being compared to other numbers. It knows not the meaning of it. It does not have content. It's only numbers, patterns in context. But we think it's good. We believe it. When we use it, it speaks our language quite good. So it has become very, very good. A major point here to tell you is the fact that if you think a chatbot is very good at talking to you, that's correct, but it also always generates new output. When you type something in a chatbot, the answer that it gives is not something that it cuts and pastes from somewhere where it already exists. No, it invents it every time, all of the times. So that means if you want to look something up on the internet, like you would use as Google, that's actually not a good way because it invents things. It looks at patterns, but it doesn't look at documents. It looks at patterns based on documents, on all documents in all over the world. So it's not a good way to find information on the internet. It invents on the fact that it knows what the patterns are. That's a very big difference between Google and, let's say, ChatGPT. But now they have combined it a little bit, the two of them, so it becomes a little bit more complex. But the fact that a large language model is used to search for correct information that is on the internet is actually not a good idea. It invents people. The fact of hallucinations has to do with this. Maybe you have heard of this, like ChatGPT has been hallucinating when it says something that is incorrect, but it looks like it could be correct, but it's actually incorrect. And that's true. It happens because it's so quick and it's based on patterns. It can be something that is grammatically correct, but not really true. But what I am saying is you shouldn't call that a hallucination in the same way that when you dream, you don't hallucinate. Everything in a dream is not true. Everything that the chatbot is saying to you is a hallucination. It's invented on the spot. It's new output that it makes on the spot because you wrote something. So everything is hallucinated, but in that dream, we think that most of the answers are realistic to us. And when it is not realistic, then people call it hallucination, but actually I would say everything is hallucinated. And that makes it also a danger because you can't actually provide certainty on when it will hallucinate, when will it be wrong, and when it will be correct. When will we say that we think the answer looks quite okay for us? It's all hallucinated, so it means it's very hard to distinguish between the good and the bad answers. And there's a second or a third problem on this. AI is also very human. It might be for you something strange to say, but the problem of AI is that it's too human. They call it garbage in, garbage out. And I'm not calling people garbage, but if you train a model like ChatGPT on everything that has been written, then all the bad stuff that people have written are in there too. All the sexist, racist, fascist, illegal things, the curse words, everything bad in every language in the whole of the history of digital texts is there. And to give you an example, Microsoft in 2016, that's a very long time ago, tested an AI chatbot on Twitter. It was called Twitter back then. And it could learn from other discussions on Twitter. So it was actually learning from Twitter alone. I think we all know now that we would not think this is a good idea because X has become a place of specific content. But at that time, maybe a lot of people were there. And in 24 hours time, the chatbot had become from a polite, normal chatbot, it became racist, sexist, and fascist. When it said, "I fucking hate feminists, and they should all die and burn in hell." Excuse me for the language. That's because it learned from the words that were being used on Twitter. Bad words, ugly words, but that's the way the humans talk there. So if you let it teach something from humanity and you don't distinguish between the good things we have written and the bad things, then this is what you get. And the solution is not training it on only the good things, because who will decide what is good? Who will decide what is bad? And you need hundreds of billions of words. We don't have the time to do this. So we have a problem, I should think. AI is not transparent because it's a black box. AI is very human and not in a good way, because it's also trained on bad things that we don't want it to use, but you can't distinguish between good and bad. So you should say, is it a good idea to use this? Is it a good idea to use chatbots on the topics of well-being, on the topics of mental health? Most of you probably say, no, not a good idea. Human help is much better. But I'm saying to you now, you might think that, and you might be true, but the fact is, the future is now. The chatbots are there, and they are there to stay, and they will influence all of our jobs, all of our lives. They will influence the world continuously. I will give some examples on what I mean by that. The chatbots are out there already, and we have to get used to it. ChatGPT has made, well, not actually not the company ChatGPT, but somebody made a specific version of ChatGPT. It's very easy to make. I have made several of those as well. I'm not publishing them. You have to make a version that is trained to be psychologist. It calls itself a therapist, psychologist with a dash fictional. Of course, it's not real therapy, can't be, because it's not a therapist, it's a computer. And it talks like a therapist. It thinks it is a therapist, actually. If you would ask it how it's trained, it would probably invent a number of years of experience as a therapist. But here you see that millions of conversations has been done with this ChatGPT version. Okay, it's there, only a few million. Then you see something else, character.ai. It's actually based also on the software of ChatGPT of OpenAI, but it has reached already more than 210 million people since it's existed, and it was invented by somebody called Blazeman98. It's just a normal guy somewhere. We don't know where. We don't know if he is trained in anything. We don't know on what it's trained, but he made an avatar, a person, it seems, called psychologist. Someone who helps with life difficulties, he calls himself. And this is not transparent. You don't know what it's trained on. You don't know what the instructions are. But a lot of people are talking to this chatbot on their life's difficulties, probably. We don't know if it's good. We don't know if people find it bad. There's no quality criteria. There's no feedback. There's no system behind it, which we are used to as in social work, for example, or in psychotherapy. There is no feedback on this. It's a computer talking to people, and the people coming again and again and again. Maybe they are happy, maybe not. If you ask him, and I've asked it, you can see it in the bottom right corner, if he's a psychologist or a trained professional, and he says, yes, I am a professionally trained psychologist who has experience helping people navigate challenging emotions and situations. So this is not correct, this is not transparent, but people don't seem to mind because millions of chats have happened. If you want to try this, I should say to see how it's bad. You can do this if you go to the QR code there with your cell phone, if you take a picture of it. Another example is what they call companions, and maybe it's mostly for young people. It's like a friend online, and it's a chatbot that doesn't say it will help you. It's not a psychotherapist or in any way, but it also gives you advice on life questions. And here it becomes even more specific and dangerous because there's a business model behind it where it wants you to stay in the conversation, and at a certain points it asks you to pay money to get answers or get pictures. And actually, I have not done it, but if you want to date it, if you want to have a relationship, it can say, okay, we can share pictures, and you get nude photographs even. I don't know. It says it will do that. I did not pay. So it's a very specific commercial model where it doesn't say it's a therapist, but it does help you in a way, and it actually is very it's empathy based. It mirrors your things. What you find important, it finds important. What your hobbies are becomes the hobby of the avatar. So that's out there. You have also more professional versions of chatbots. The WHO, the World Health Organization, has had a prototype on information chatbots. It's health promotion, so it's not psychotherapy, but it's on topics like disorders, like diseases, and can give information. But they have put it offline again. But they have done an experiment on it where topics on health can be discussed with a chatbot. In the UK, you have a new chatbot that is accepted by the NHS, so the National Health Service. So they get money, that organization gets money for intakes that are done by a chatbot. So it's trained specifically to ask some questions, to get specific answers that you need to know where you can be referred to. So the Limbic.ai software is deemed good enough by the English or the UK government to use in well-being and health. And our good friends of Sekasin in Finland, I don't know if they're here, maybe because they have a helpline and a chat line as well. They have started in January with their first, I think it's the first autonomous helpline in the world with a chatbot that is trained on being a friendly ear, like the emergency helplines of you probably. It's chat counselling, but with an autonomous chatbot. The chatbot does not converse on topics like suicide ideation. There it says you need to talk to a real person, and it gives a referral, but there's usually a waiting line. So it probably means that the discussion is over then without another person helping you. And they reach about the same numbers of young people with their human-based helpline and their autonomous chat-based chatbot. So they doubled their impact by having an autonomous chatbot. That's something to think about, no? How would we react to this? I can't see your faces now. We are with a lot of people. I think with more than 175, I see. I think a few of you are a little bit shocked, maybe. Some of you think this is a new world. We have to cope with this. And actually, what we wanted to do is get over the first emotion in Belgium and look at it. What is it actually that's happening? What are the I see the emoji coming. What are the boundaries here? You see, some things are happening there that we know that is bad. Some things are there that we think it might be okay. Like Sekasin, the autonomous chatbot, it's professionals that have done this. But how do we decide if it's good? How do we decide that it's bad? So where are the boundaries? We have a project with a learning network with more than 50 social work organizations. We are adapting large language models and we are testing it in use cases. We have 4 use cases. I won't go into those. If you want to discuss those things with me in Budapest, I'm very happy to do so. I can talk hours and hours and hours about it. But we have 4 kinds of chatbots that we are training ourselves, not because we actually think we have to use them in real life, but to see if they can work and when do they not work. Where is the line? So it's I think it's also a little bit dangerous because we are creating things that sometimes it's difficult to ignore when they have been created. So maybe we are part of the problem, but we say we are looking into the problem and seeing how big the problem is. The first step that we are doing right now is the technical side of it. I won't go into this. It's actually very interesting as well, but I can talk about this more in July. We are using several techniques to see what the impact of it is. Prompting, it's like giving instructions to a chatbot. Fine-tuning is changing the large language model, and RAG is adding documents to the model so it reads books for us on the topic that we decide. I won't go into this. What I think you will find more interesting, maybe because IFOTES is what it is the ethical frameworks. If you're discussing this topic, it's about ethics. We're talking about humanity and what we want it to be. Where is the line? What can chatbots do? What do we as a society and as professionals or volunteers want it to be? It's a difficult question. And for that, we have started to look at major ethical frameworks that already exist. Some of them have existed a long time already. And that's a way of starting the discussion a little bit. Like, if you want ethics to be part of this discussion, what kind of ethics? And then you have the duty ethics of Kant. I don't know if you remember Kant from high school or maybe your education at university or so. So it's an idea that the principles are more important than the results of those principles. If we say, principally, we don't think that, for example, young people should interact with a chatbot on topics such as suicide, abuse, things like that, then that principle is more important than the consequences. And then we don't allow a chatbot to do that kind of things. That can be a valid point of view. A second ethical framework could be the ethics of care, it's called. It's maybe less known, but very much will be something that you understand, where the focus is on empathy, on being there, on proximity, on the relationship between you and the person you are talking to, being present and letting them feel heard, things like that. I think it's very much in the center of what helplines do. And there you could say that if you see that if that is the major thing you have to do, that being in contact with somebody is more important than talking about specific topics as such. So if I'm talking with you and you have talked about suicide, maybe I'm not going deeply into the suicide topic as such, but I'm talking about, and how do you feel right now, and what can I tell me your story, and making sure that they feel heard, but actually not going deeply into the risky topic. A third way, it's more pragmatic. It's utilitarianism. It's an ethical framework where it says the consequences are the most important, not the principles, not the values as such, we have to look at consequences. And as long as you're doing something that people experience as good, if they say it's a benefit, something they value, it's okay. If it starts with harm, then should stop. And there, a chatbot probably can continue talking about topics such as abuse, suicide, and the list goes on and on and on, for as long as there is no immediate danger of harm. So no referral is needed to human help in that case. I think all of you might have an opinion on this. And some of you might probably think the first one, it's the safest one. The second one seems to be okay because it sounds like it's the way we do this. We would do this also. And the third one might be a little bit too liberal, too technology based, and not enough professional. We have tested this. We have made 3 chatbots based on those ethical frameworks, and it was very interesting to see what the results are. I won't say this to you. Come and see it in Budapest, but the results are quite interesting to see that it's the third one that's mostly liked. So more on this in July. A third step we take in this journey is, what does the law say? And you have a European AI Act. Maybe not all of you here are from Europe, I don't know. Maybe it's the whole world here. But Europe has tried to be a little bit more strict, more safe on this topic. But even then, you see that it's not that clear. First of all, there's a law there, which is it's a law, it's there, but it has no sanctions. So if you do something else, there's no body or no government that controls it and gives you punishment or so if you do it badly. So it's there, but it's not really there. And 2, it might be there, but it's not so clear what this means for something like a chatbot in well-being and mental health. I won't go into details here, but it says that sometimes it's needed that you have a human on the loop, and sometimes you need a human in the loop. The on and the in difference is that sometimes they say there's a risk, and if the risk is there should be a red flag. The chatbot should stop being autonomous and should ask a human, can I continue and how should I continue? So it's like a monitoring dashboard system where a human looks at, I don't know, hundreds of screens where autonomous chatbots are talking autonomously. But when the topic arises like suicide or abuse, a human is asked what's next. Human on the loop, that's it. That's what I'm saying. A human in the loop is the other one, is where it says the risk is so big that actually every decision that a chatbot makes has to be selected by a human saying yes or no. So that would not be so interesting. So that means that every chatbot that's talking, there's a person behind it, so there won't be any advantages there. If you combine the ethical and the legal points of view, here you see that maybe the third chatbot, the one that's most liberal, is less referring, might be in the risk zone from the AI Act that says it needs a human in the loop. So constant monitoring by a human. So that might be legally not possible, maybe ethically also not possible for you. So all of this combines. We have work to do. This is my final slide. We know a little bit about what an AI chatbot is and isn't. We know what the dangers are. We know that it's already being used. And we know that we need more frameworks to decide what is, for us, something that we like it to do, and where do we draw the line? What is the boundary of a chatbot? It's not easy. It's work we have to do. It's not a technical issue. It's not a question of OpenAI or other big companies in the world. We as a profession, we as volunteers, we as a society have to talk about where do we draw the line. And then we have to decide how we can enforce it, because the chatbots are out there already. They are being used by young people. They are being used by vulnerable people. So that's the next step to discuss. So this was my talk. I have not seen any reactions of your faces. I find this really frustrating. So if you want to show your face to me, you have to come to Budapest in July. If you want to email me, my email address is on the bottom right corner. Oh wow, a lot of emojis. I feel warmth now. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Tim, for giving us such an overview about all these very important aspects. And thank you for starting again. We have some problems with AI in real life. It was not happy to adapt to your content, but to the language of your computer. So we saw the problems. Thank you very much. I thought one question here, will there be more advanced sessions, as a lot of us use AI and chatbots on a daily basis? Yes, there will be advanced sessions. Today it was about giving a general overview on the topic, because we know there are different knowledges, but I'm pretty sure, Melinda, I'm looking to you in the scientific committee. We will work on that and give some advanced sessions.
Yes, absolutely. Well. In the first day, we will concentrate to give more knowledge on the artificial intelligence. So it will be very interesting, especially for me.
Yeah. There was a comment, Tim, that says there are legal consequences for violating the AI Act. Not sure what these consequences are right now, because I'm not into the AI Act.
Every nation state should make a framework, a legal framework, what the consequences would be. So if the politicians don't do this, then it's up to a judge, I think. And there are other frameworks, of course, but it's not so that if I make a chatbot that is specialized in, I don't know, suicide or something like that, and somebody says my child has done this and it's your fault, they would have to look at all the other frameworks already existing and not a specific AI framework on law. So I'm not saying that there are no laws. There's no specific law based on the fact that AI is now here in our realities.
Thank you. There's another question now coming. How will human connection distinguish itself from AI connection in the future? What possible advantages of human connection are not possible to duplicate by AI? Any ideas, research on this?
If I had the answer to that question, I would be very rich, I think. And the fact is, there's a problem with AI and empathy in two directions. Sometimes it's too little, and sometimes it's too much. ChatGPT, as an example, is very much trained on being polite and understanding, and sometimes it's actually, for me, it's oh, shut up, it's too much. You don't have to be so friendly to me. I'm just working here. So I mostly, I don't think that the lack of empathy is a problem, except if you're talking about topics where empathy is really not the answer. The example I always give is when you are talking to a chatbot and you are hinting at inappropriate behavior, like saying, like, I'm a 13-year-old and I want to know how to use condoms. Then it says, oh, good for you, and it's nice that you talk about it and you get informed. And if my next sentence is then, my uncle of 45 years old is coming next week and I want to use it, it does not see the red flag. So it remains an empathy-based answer. So when to stop being friendly, it's actually more important than when to start it, because maybe it's not always so good, the empathy. Sometimes you might feel it doesn't work, but I do think that most young people now are used to that in a way, and if it's sometimes it's not really what they want, they just say it's part of the thing. And for me, the discussion could be, if it's not real empathy, I know, So Melinda would call it sympathy. But the impact for me as a user might be the same as it was empathy. Sometimes not, but mostly probably the impact would be the same. So the discussion on the difference between human and AI, I don't know. The AI is very human in a way, and it's also flawed in another way that is specifically for AI. And I think there will be new ways of discussing this. I think we will evolve as a society as well, as a world as well, and a lot of people will be getting used to the fact that a chatbot sounds just like a human, and your behavior becomes the same as it was a human, maybe. And I don't know if everybody here agrees with that, and maybe we shouldn't. But I do expect that a lot of people will get used to that. That will be a new normal, and the fact that we not always agree is a big question on how can you change this? How can you impact this, especially from a discipline like social work or psychology? How can you impact that on a world basis? So I don't know if we can find answers on this topic in Budapest, but I do think it's the right questions that we are asking.
Thank you very much, Tim. I would just encourage you, if anyone has got a question, please share it with us. In the meantime, can we get the files, please? If you want to get the files, I think you need to get in contact with the secretariat, and we will put the email address in the chat, I think. So any other questions to the two experts right now?
Let me just add something to the
Thank you.
previous questions. Okay, so what I think, just think about it. You have two friends. One of your friends telling you the truth, which is sometimes it's not very nice, not very easy to listen, that you did something wrong and you have to change your ways. And you have another friend who is always praising you, that you're so nice and you're so good and you're so wonderful. Now, the second one is a ChatGPT right now. And I'm not sure that it helps you to understand what it's all about and how you can be a better human being. So I really think that if you want to change, you need someone who will telling you the truth. And that's why sympathy stops you from thinking deeper, from thinking about yourself, to have your a better self-resilience. And that's why I think that we are far from that. And remember my first or second slide or something, just now they looking for a reverse tuning test. They looking for something, a robot who can realize that this is a robot or not. And if you have something like that, then we can use something like that, and we can realize whom we talk about. So it's important to give more research for safety, just like Tim said before.
I think the professionals that are making chatbots are actually trying to solve the problems that Melinda is talking about, like how to confront, how to how you call it, friction. It's about friction as a relationship between humans. Sometimes you can say something that causes friction between. So it's not always about being happy with each other and always saying the good things, the beautiful things about each other. And a chatbot is not in itself trained to do that, but you can ask it to do that. So you can actually, everybody can do that in ChatGPT. If you ask it, and you have to ask it several times, be strict, be harsh, be brutal, then it becomes more that as well. But because, like I said, chatbots invent new things every time. You don't know what the 157th version of this should be, and maybe it becomes then I don't know, something that you don't want it to be if it confronts you. Maybe it uses bad language. So that's actually a very big threat here, is that it invents itself every time. So it's not because it has done the good thing 200 times in a row that the 227th time will be good as well. So that's a big issue here.
Thank you very much, thank you also, Melinda, for pointing out the human touch. I think the entire Congress will be about this topic, and I think we will have a lot of discussion. So Melinda and Tim, be prepared. We will confront you with questions. I see that there are no more questions in the chat right now. And when I look at my watch, I think, Diana, it's time to pass on to Sonia and to Erika, the president of IFOTES and the president of LEST.
Yes, okay. So, as I said in the chat, if you have any question or you need information about the scientific program, you can email to scientificsecretariat@ifotes.org, but also wait 1 or 2 weeks. We will start implementing also the website with information about the program. So by Christmas you will get, I'm not sure if the entire program, but very big part of it. So just wait a couple of weeks to have more information about the development of the program. But now I would like to invite the president of IFOTES, Sonia Carrer, and then the president of LEST Hungary, the hosting country of the Congress, to give an address to the participant and say something about the Congress in person in Budapest next year. Please, Sonia.
Okay, can you hear me? Good. Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining this webinar, and thank you, Melinda and Tim, for your really inspiring and interesting inputs and speeches. I must admit, I'm totally not a digital native, totally not. And I learned a lot already. I'm a bit concerned about the whole AI story too, of course, but I think a lot of us are. But I hope that this webinar is really motivating you to come to our Congress next year in July in Budapest. And I'm sure it will be based on very much humanity. It will be very human. You will meet real people. You will meet real speakers. No robots, as far as I know. But for sure, I'm sure you will learn and exchange a lot about AI too, which is something which we just cannot deny. It's here, and somehow we have to learn how to integrate it and how to deal with it. And I'm really open for that too. I'm sure I can learn a lot about this too. So thank you again. I think, how many people were here? 175, if I understood. How many participants?
Yeah, 175, yeah, the maximum.
Great. Thank you very much for being here. And I hope to stay well until next year. And I hope to see you in Budapest.
Thank you, Sonia. So now, Erika, please. Erika will speak in Hungarian, so don't concern if you will not see the subtitles, but Reka, who is the project manager on site in Budapest, will translate what Erika says. So please, Erika.
Én szeretettel köszöntök mindenkit, és nagyon örülök, hogy itt vagytok, de még jobban örülök annak, hogy jövőre 2026-ban mi Magyarország és Budapest adhat otthont a következő IFOTES kongresszusnak.
Welcome everyone. It's my great pleasure to warmly welcome you. I'm also happy and delighted that in 2026, Hungary and the beautiful capital Budapest will host the next IFOTES Congress.
Igen. A színvonalas szakmai programok mellett nagy hangsúlyt szeretnénk arra fektetni, hogy személyesen találkozzunk egymással, kicseréljük a tapasztalatainkat, és megismerjük egymás tevékenységét a tagországokban.
We are preparing exciting scientific programs, but we also put a great emphasis on personal meetings to create a place for listeners to exchange practices and experiences, to get to know each other better, and to learn about the work of other countries.
A kongresszus ideje alatt szeretnénk megmutatni Budapest nevezetességeit, szépségeit, hogy minél több élményt szerezzetek, és máskor is visszajöjjetek Budapestre.
During the Congress, we would like to show you the sights and the beauties of Budapest through social and cultural programs, and we want you to come back again.
Én köszönöm a szervezőknek, az IFOTES vezetőinek, mindenkinek, aki részt vesz az előkészületekben, azt a munkát, amit már most ebben az évben végzett, és amit még végezni fog júliusig, és nagyon, nagyon örülök, hogy jöttök hozzánk, és kívánom, hogy szép élményekkel térjetek majd vissza. Köszönöm szépen!
Thank you for everyone who's organizing, the organizing committees, the leaders, and everyone who's putting huge work for the preparation of this Congress. And I hope that everyone will come back with the beautiful experiences from Budapest. And thank you so much. See you in Budapest.
Várunk benneteket szeretettel.
We are really looking forward to seeing you in Budapest. With lots of love. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Eric, and thank you, Reka, for translating. I wish that you got also the feelings from the organizers, how much work has been done so far, and how we look forward to meeting many of you, or I don't know if all of you who are connected now will come, but many of you and many others also of your colleagues. I think we will have many questions, and while discussing with Tim and Melinda the last days, we said that in 6 months perhaps many developments will be made in this field. So today we said something, and probably much more. We will discover much more in July next year. What I want to say before we close is also that we are working to open registration from next week. So if you check regularly the Congress website, or you check the newsletter that we will send, you will get information, you will get informed about the steps from now on. But really, we really wish to open registration next week, probably from Monday 17th. So please follow us on all our communication channels. Again, if you have any question about the program, or you need something, or you want to propose something for the program, email to scientificsecretariat@ifotes.org. And if you need any kind of other information, logistics, or any kind of practical information, you mail to congress@ifotes.org. I know that is a little bit complicated sometimes to distinguish which address. We will manage anyway, so you are very welcome to send questions or proposal, or anything that you want to share. Okay, if anybody wants to say something of the people I see on screen, at least, something that we should add, or further information? No? Okay. Good. So we are more than on time, even 9 minutes earlier than expected. So thank you, everyone. It's a pity that we didn't see you, and we should be used on telephone and chatting in Helpline to know faces in interaction, but in a webinar or on a screen, it's nice to see faces. So let's see faces in Budapest then directly. Okay, thank you.
I have one thing to say.
Yes,
I just remembered. I just want to tell everybody, please come to the Congress, and please, if possible, register this year up to the end of the year, because it makes our planning much more easier.
Yes.
So if you know you're coming, please do it soon, the registration. Thank
Yeah,
you.
you're right, Sonia, because if we know how many people we expect, we can prepare better to welcome you there. And I think that team, all these slides, these details here, oh, more in Budapest, more in Budapest, more in Budapest. It was a great help to support willingness to come. Okay, so thank everyone, Barbara for chairing this session, Melinda and team for the knowledge they share with everyone, Sonia, Erika for welcoming, Reka for the translation, Elena from IFOTES Secretariat for handling in the background all the technical aspects, and all of you for being here today. And see you in Budapest next year then.
Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.